This weekend, we saw Xander Zayas win his first world title, vacant title against Jorge Garcia. Impressive performance given his age, and I think Xander Zayas is a unique situation that maybe we will or we won't see again. I mean, obviously, history will repeat itself, but Zayas enters in a spot that I don't know if we'll see for some point because we have to get back to that point. What is the spot that Zayas was in? Well, he was a 16-year-old pro. I believe a month younger than Gabe Flores Jr., who at the time was the youngest signee to ever turn pro for the same company, Top Rank. Zayas slightly younger than him. And then basically grows up in front of our eyes on television, right? So you saw in this era, and I think in more eras you'll see more of the same of this, where you see every single fight of a fighter. And I like that because you can see the development, you can see how they're going, and so forth and so on. But I think for a lot of fans, it's difficult to see someone's evolution from start to finish. And what I noticed was Zayas was getting a lot of knockouts early because he's a strong kid, a good foundation, really, really outstanding boxer, which we've seen at the highest level. But he was able, with the lower level guys, the decent level fighters, kind of club level fighters, his power really showed, and it was partially because of a great boxing IQ. He could separate, land shots, get guys out of there. When he got to that next level, former champions, contenders and stuff, we haven't seen that same level of power. And I think for a lot of fans, power equals enjoyment. Power equals development. They look at the best fighters oftentimes. You don't see a lot of people drawn to the boxers unless the boxers have a strong personality like Floyd Mayweather. And even then, he was more of a puncher to begin. So I think fans are more drawn to punchers. So when a young fighter, who I feel like most people, when they see a young fighter, they're always on pins and needles because they're like, how can this young kid do what maybe a 26, 27-year-old couldn't do? And then the power isn't there, so to speak, at the next level. It's been a unusual grind for Zayas because he's passed a lot of character check marks in his career that not a lot of fighters pass. He's won a title very early in his career and now represents Puerto Rico and has, that island behind him and the pressure of Puerto Rico on him. And he's kind of handling each fight as a dress rehearsal to the next, to the big stages. And I think that from him and his team, there's a true willingness to take good fights. But yet he's in one of these jam-packed divisions where you got guys like Virgil Ortiz, who looks like he very well could be a future Hall of Famer. Jerome Boots Ennis, who looks like he could be a future Hall of Famer. Fundora looks like he might enter that conversation. If nothing else, he's going to be a very tough matchup and a long-standing top guy in the division. We've got Bekram Murtavaliev. We got guys like Surai Boachuk, Israel Madrimov, that are the level right below, Erickson Lubin, Jesus Ramos. So I think part of it, too, is when people look at Xander Zayas, they wonder, how does he stack up with these other guys? Because this is one of the deepest divisions, and you think back even like a decade ago when you had the Julian Williams and the Charlos and all these guys in that division. The division always, it seems like they always make the fights in this division, and you never see a long reigning champion at 154 because they typically take tough fights and it takes something out of them. So I think that maybe a smart historical fan looks with skepticism like, okay, this young guy comes in. But on Saturday, to me, I was impressed that Xander could fight a guy that, in my opinion, he's more talented than and he should beat. And he beat him in a way where he didn't make the fight too competitive. He fought a composed fight. He never let the emotion of the moments get to him. He fought smart, focused, disciplined. And for a 22-year-old to stay that composed in a moment, a championship moment, you hear the criticism about people wondering if he has power at that next level, whatever. And to fight a fight where he knows possibly going in, maybe I could get criticism, but like I've always said to everybody, winning fixes everything. Right? Winning fixes everything. And now he has a title. Now he is in the mix. And I truly believe him when he says the names of these fights, that he wants to take on those type of challengers. He has that willingness to take on those fights. Now, I think that at some point you're probably going to see him do a Puerto Rican homecoming fight. What type of opponent? That would come down to the rankings. And then it's going to be interesting what maybe the next 15 months look like for him, because now he's morphed into a world champion. He's accomplished the goal, but this is where the real work starts. Is he going to just be a title holder? Is he going to be a long reigning champion, or is he going to be a multi-division world champion? This is where we find out about desires, motivations, and goals for a fighter. And this is where I get excited about the development of Xander, seeing him from the beginning of his career. Where does he want to go? Because the work ethic is there. And he's doing this with Javier Centeno, who raised him from the ground up. That's his guy. So I think it's a really neat story. And I think it's strange. It's strange that he'd get any criticism for this performance, because Garcia is a guy who maybe he's not as talented as Navarrete, but he had a lot of those Navarrete traits. And in those first, second, third rounds, that fight could have gotten away from Xander. But he fought composed, and he made the fight his own. And by 7, 8, 9, you knew where that fight was going. You knew that he was in control of it. And now he enters an exciting division where he can figure out what the heck he wants to do with his career.